Hello and welcome. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Wagner, and this is hello. It's good to be with people live. My name is Anna Wagner, and this is an installment of GreenFaith's Flash Training in Organizing Skills. I am the Interim Co-Director of Organizing at GreenFaith. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing the Reverend Dr. Neddy Astudillo about why we use the language of climate justice in our collective work at GreenFaith. I am looking forward to talking with you, Neddy.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. I'm also looking forward to talking with you. And I'm Neddy. And my role at GreenFaith is the Latinx and Latin America Organizing and Training Coordinator. It's great to be with you today. Thank you.
So let's jump in. So what is climate justice?
All right. So one very simple way that I like to define climate justice is as the ethical lenses through which we see the climate crisis. We notice who suffers the most and why. While climate change is affecting everyone around the world, it is clear that it does not affect everyone the same. As we just saw, for example, here in Florida, where I live, with the Hurricane Ian, we notice who was featured the most on TV, who got the most media coverage, who got support from the government first, who was able to pick up and just leave before the storm, who had insurance and who didn't, who will see their home rebuilt and who is now homeless and perhaps in need of starting a new life somewhere else, or who is still at home waiting for the waters to subside, to leave, and who got the bridge rebuilt in record time. In a society where there is already a history of racial inequality in all its systems, it is no surprise that we see this inequality expressed again in the new crisis called climate change. But even if we go beyond Florida, climate justice as the lenses through which we see the climate crisis, it points out to the fact that the populations contributing the most to greenhouse gas emissions, and that is, and I'm quoting, countries of the global north, industrialized countries, the carriers of colonization efforts, the main drivers of a global economy that has been demanding natural resources from all parts of the world for the last 500 years, are unlikely to experience the worst impacts of climate change, and unquote. Climate justice allows us to see that 1 out of every 19 people in the so-called developing world are affected by climate change, compared to 1 in every 1,500 people in the developed world. So it doesn't take much to understand why those populations, already left vulnerable by the history of colonization and racism, had less adaptability and less economic power to resist the impact now of climate change. However, they are at the forefront of the climate justice movement, and they are the ones that know best what needs to be done to solve climate change.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Neddy. Those are really powerful numbers. 1 in 19 people in the so-called developing world being affected, compared to 1 in every 15,000 in the developed world. And I love what you said about how people at the forefront of the climate justice movement have solutions. Can you tell me more about what grassroots communities are saying is most needed to achieve climate justice, and what are the demands?
Yeah, sure. And just a small correction, maybe I misspoke, is 1 in every 1,500 in the developed world affected by climate change.
Great, thank you. Well, either way, it's a lot.
Yeah, of course, it's a big difference. So one interesting thing is that grassroots communities tie up a number of issues that sometimes we had separated and didn't really see them as part of the climate justice agenda. Grassroots communities, and I'm talking about indigenous peoples, Black people, brown people, women, youth, they're saying that climate justice is protecting the rights of indigenous peoples to their land and to their forests and to the minerals and the resources. Climate justice is justice for future generations to live in a livable planet. Climate justice is justice for climate refugees and solidarity that they need from the countries that mostly are responsible from climate change. Climate justice is racial justice, and climate justice is gender justice. Another demand that is needed, is heard and is voiced, is the need for reparations. You know, from the global South, grassroots communities are speaking about the importance of pardoning external debts. You know, rich countries have already enriched themselves by exploiting the natural resources from the global South. So pardoning external debt is a recognition that that debt acquired with support of puppet and corrupt governments has already been paid. So climate justice seekers also speak of financial contributions from the countries of the North to the global South for loss and damage already suffered by communities, to finance just transition. This financial support, as I said, is not charity, but it's more about giving back what has been taken. And in regards to gender justice, you know, the climate justice movement points out to the fact that women have suffered discrimination more than men for hundreds of years, and by the same patriarchal system responsible for the climate crisis. You know, we have suffered more just for the fact of being women, and we are already vulnerable, and climate change aggravates that vulnerability. So we need solidarity. Another aspect in terms of women is that 60 to 80% of the food around the world is produced by women. So we can know, with that alone, imagine how climate change impacts women more than men.
Oh, those are such powerful points that you're lifting up, that climate justice is land justice and indigenous justice. It's future generations justice, it's refugees justice, it's racial justice, it's gender justice, and lifting up the importance of the need for reparations rather, and that debt has already been paid by these communities that have been so impacted by these interlocking systems of oppression. And yeah, really, really powerful too, just naming how women are really at the forefront of the impacts of the climate crisis. And so this is very tied into gender justice very closely. Is there anything else, Neddy, you would like to point out about the contributions of the climate justice movement led by grassroots and indigenous people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just very shortly, then just one thing that I heard from indigenous people say is that we cannot expect that the same conventional economic, political, technological, and cultural actors like white supremacy responsible for the climate crisis can be now the ones to bring about the solutions. We need new voices. We need new values, the values of faith. That's the work that GreenFaith is doing, lifting up those values of faith. We need new ways in leadership. We need Black and brown people's voices. We need immigrant voices. We need women's voices. We need indigenous people's voices. And we need to integrate their leadership and their knowledge and perspectives into all policies and all the actions seeking to solve the climate crisis. As someone said, this is because we cannot prevent further global warming without addressing the way our societies and institutions are organized. The fight for climate justice and the fight for social and racial justice and gender justice and immigrant justice are all one and the same. So I hope this is helpful to understand all the ramifications and all the ways in which we can all get involved for climate justice, and which place are we in the world, and from there to bring it about as a possibility for our life and for our planet, our children, our future. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Neddy. So well said. The same thinking that got us into this is not going to be what will get us out, and we must lift up and follow the leadership of these frontline communities that have been so affected and have so much wisdom. Thank you so much to you, Neddy, And to everyone watching this for joining this installment of GreenFaith's Flash Training in Organizing Skills. Because the earth and all people are sacred and at risk, GreenFaith is building a worldwide multi-faith climate and environmental movement. And together, our members create communities to transform ourselves, our spiritual institutions, and society to protect the planet and create a compassionate, loving, and just world. And together we are doing it. So thank you, Neddy.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.